This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. I'm your host, Matt Takimoto, and episode 284 will feature the Benchwarmer team and the only Benchwarmer team of David and Scott versus our two special guests for tonight. They are co-hosts of the Rounding Third Baseball podcast, Nick, Arno, and Harrison Smith. Nick, Harrison, thanks so much for being here. Why don't you take a second and let us know kind of who you are and what teams you root for?
We're the Rounding Third Baseball podcast. Originally from Maine. I moved to North Carolina in 2018, and about 3 years ago, I just threw it out. I was like, hey, I love talking baseball from the fans' perspective. Does anybody want to jump on this journey with me? And Harrison's like, hand up, let's do it. And it's been an incredible ride since. And, you know, we morph as we're getting more followers and doing more trivia and stuff like that. It's been incredible.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So Harrison Smith, originally from New Hampshire, now living in Maine. I met Nick in college. I did the travel ball route all the way up through college. Nick put that post out there on Facebook. I scrolled right past it the first time thinking, baseball podcast, nah, I'm good. And I was like, you know what? This could actually be fun. And here we are 3 years later having a blast and really excited to be here with you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're glad to have you. And what will your team name be this evening?
Go ahead, Nick.
So my hatred for this guy really started in 2019 during the World Series when he pointed out that Anthony Rendon went to Rice University about 850 times during the entire broadcast. So we are going to go with Joe Buck Yourself.
Beautiful. And David and Scott, how are you? And what is your team name?
I'll kick it off here. I'm doing well. I'm just excited for this game. I'm excited to have an all baseball game. It was pretty much my first love growing up, and so it's I love being around like-minded people, and it's like throw the wins and losses away on the show. It's just really great when you can just spend a couple hours on Zoom just shooting the breeze and just talking baseball or talking sports in general. And so I love hearing the origin story, guys, because we started the exact same way. There seemed to be a hole in the sort of podcast trivia. There was a void there, and Matt Doherty put out a post, and a bunch of us responded to it, and it was like, it's probably not really going to materialize or turn into anything. And now here we are, almost 5 years later, and it's just been this groundswell of joy and just like a brotherhood now. You know, we're a family. I love hearing the story because I just love how organically these things happen, and all of a sudden you're looking down the barrel of 3 years, 5 years, and it feels like it was just yesterday. So love the story. I love that you guys are here. Really excited to have you. And to talk some baseball with you guys. I had something else I wanted to get to. I don't remember it. I'm just going to throw it over to David.
That's awesome. So before we get started, so Harrison, your name is really Harrison Smith?
Oh, it is, yeah. And I'm not a safety for the Vikings.
David, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up.
So this is the funniest thing.
We need Dan to do a new read.
That's right. We have found him. We have found Harrison Smith. Your name is in almost every single podcast because our rule example for what we call our pre and post
Marvin Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith. So
that's it. We can end up 6.
Hey, and by the way, I get that question right every time.
Oh, you do. That's good. So that's really cool. So the other thing you may not have heard that we just frustrate the hell out of all of our Benchwarmer brethren is that Scott and I have the same birthday, August 5th. So whenever we are fortunate enough to team up, we always find someone who has our same birthday. And since, of course, we're doing a baseball episode, tonight we are dedicating the episode to Mark Mulder. And tonight our team name will be Mulder. I hardly know her.
Very nice. So we've got Joe Buck Yourself against Mulder. I hardly know her. Now it's time to kick it over to Benchwarmer Emeritus Dan for the rules.
The game will consist of 4 quarters of play, each with different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
Thank you, Dan. He's ready for some baseball. We're ready for some baseball. So let's do this thing. The first quarter will be pre and post game.
Pre and post game. For this quarter, there will be 4 before and after style questions. For example, if I said, what all-time leader in receptions for the Indianapolis Colts was a Notre Dame safety drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, the answer would be Marvin Harrison Smith. Each question is worth 25 points.
Question 1 in pre and post game. He scored the winning run in Game 3 of the 2013 World Series on a walk-off obstruction call, and he scored the winning run in Game 7 of the 1997 World Series on Edgar Renteria's walk-off single.
All right, we'll check in.
Okay. Mulder, we hardly know her, has checked in. Joe Buck yourself. Go ahead and talk it out.
Yeah, so as huge Red Sox fans that Harris and I are, we have this play haunts us because I don't know if it was quite obstruction. Middlebrooks was going for the ball. It goes down the left field line, and then they throw out Alan Craig at the plate. And I was blanking on the 97. And of course, it is now the ex-Brewer manager and current Cubs manager, Craig Counsell. So it is Alan Craig Counsell.
Can still picture his arms raised as he comes across the plate.
Yeah.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her. What'd you have?
Yeah, back to front on this one. Definitely Craig Counsell. I mean, that just came up on the last game I hosted last month. So, of course, that's fresh in my mind. And then the only name that made sense, 2013, it had to be a Cardinal or a Red Sox, and I couldn't think of anyone else other than Alan Craig. So we also checked in Alan Craig Counsell.
Both teams getting their points. It is Alan Craig Counsell. Trigger warning for Eric Walling in 3, 2, 1. In addition to scoring that winning run in Game 3 of the 2013 World Series, Alan Craig caught the final out of the 2011 World Series to beat the Rangers. Question 2 of pre and post game. With a real first name of Edward, he's the Yankees' all-time leader in pitching wins, and he's the former MLB commissioner who lends his name to the highest honor given to MLB broadcasters.
Oh, check it in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, has checked in. Joe, Buck yourself, talk it out.
All right, so I'm pretty sure you're right on this one, Nick. I'm pretty sure that it's Whitey Ford is the pitcher, and we just saw Red Sox honor with the Ford Frick Award, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be Whitey Ford Frick.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her. What'd you have?
Whitey Ford Frick.
And it sounds about as good as Go Buck Yourself as far as I'm concerned. So
both teams getting points. It is Whitey Ford Frick, or Ford C. Frick, if you really want to be formal about the whole thing. All right. Question 3 in pre and post game. He won 1 Silver Slugger award at catcher and another 4 at second base. And he led the National League in wins in 2012. His first season as a National after coming over from Oakland via trade.
We'll check in.
All right. Joe Buck yourself has checked in. Mulder, I hardly know her. Talk it out.
I think we got it.
I think it took.
We immediately typed Craig Biggio to each other
on the first half of the catcher turned second base. That's pretty,
I was gonna say, you hear that.
Pretty common.
Pretty sure this is Gio Gonzalez, because when I see Oakland to the Nationals in a trade, I think Gio Gonzalez, and it fits.
Yeah.
So we're gonna check in, Matt, with Craig Biggio Gonzalez. Craig Biggio Gonzalez.
And Joe Buck yourself, what'd you have?
Yeah, we had the same thing. Craig Biggio, I mean, is probably the most famous to go from catcher to second base. So that name's like immediate. And you guys do pre and post game a little bit different than us, because I know sometimes you dissect the last name to start, and I'm like, who's got the first name of Biggio? And then I'm like, oh, Gio.
Oh, we should have warned you. We should have warned you about that.
It's all good. I've been listening to you guys. So like,
thankfully, we listened to your podcast, so we know how this goes.
So the thing is, basically, the pre and post games really, they don't want to admit it, but it's basically who can write the best dad jokes. That's what it comes down to.
It's all good. I'm here for it.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
All right. Both teams are getting their points. It is Craig Biggio Gonzalez. You covered all the flavor text there. Craig Biggio, famously a catcher and then a second baseman. Gio Gonzalez, being a Bay Area guy, Gio Gonzalez was an Oakland favorite in his short time there, and then went over to the Nationals and did some good things as well. The final question.
Isn't everybody an Oakland favorite that ends up going somewhere else?
Yeah, that's how it works. Is they're in Oakland for 2 years and then we love them and then they get traded to the Yankees or to the Nationals or to the whoever.
Well,
don't root for the players, root for the uniforms because they won't be there long enough. So
yeah. Well, the uniforms aren't there either. They're stuck in Sacramento.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and Nick and Harrison, you guys talked about this on your last episode, but I am also in that boat where I think there's a very good chance the A's never get to Vegas. I think there's a very good chance that falls through and they end up either just like nomad team, or maybe that's the thing that John Fisher sees the writing on the wall and says, okay, I'll finally sell them, and they end up back in Oakland.
Right. Or they're just going to be the Notre Dame of Major League Baseball.
They're bringing back barnstorming.
They're just their own thing.
Yeah.
Well, and the Rays are in the same boat now. So
yeah,
they just put a hold on their stadium deal this year. So I mean, I don't know. They're in trouble.
Somewhere in Canada. They're moving to Canada.
It'd be real easy to change Oakland A's to Oakland Rays. Just add a couple of letters and
just combine the teams.
Wait, then what happens to the A's? You don't like my idea of moving them to Canada? I think it could work.
Hey, I'm all for bringing baseball back to Montreal. Let's do it.
Yeah.
There you go. See, look at that. We solved baseball.
That's what we do.
All
right.
Right.
It's Canada. They could call them like the Vancouver A.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow.
That's enough. Can I dock points for that?
Yes, you
No, it's not in the spreadsheet. Ooh. All right. Final question of pre and post game. This left-handed starter made all-star teams for all three teams he pitched for: the 1985 and 91 Blue Jays, the 93 and 94 Yankees, and the 96 Orioles. And this Pirates third baseman has struggled to live up to the hype since his debut in 2020, though he did win an NL Gold Glove in 2023.
We'll check in.
All right. Joe Buck yourself has checked in. Mulder, I hardly know her. Talk it out.
Yeah, so I immediately went to Brian Hayes on this because he has not lived up to the hype. Like a lot of Pirates prospects, and it seems like that's turning around now. Skeens and Jones and some of these other guys, but for a while, a lot of Pirates prospects were not panning out. Brian Hayes is a big example of that. So then immediately my head went to Blue Jay and Yankee. It's Jimmy Key, and I couldn't picture him at first on the 96 Orioles, but then I remembered he was on that staff briefly because that was like young Mussina and Scott Erickson and just a sneaky good Orioles team there in 96. So we in with Jimmy Key, Brian Hayes.
And Joe Buck yourself, what'd you have?
We had the same thing because Brian Hayes, we actually got to see him live last summer when we went on a trip, and incredible to watch, but frustrating at the same time. And Jimmy Key, I'm with you, the same one. Only lefty I could think of that had that kind of career pattern. So we checked in with the same Jimmy Key, Brian Hayes.
Both teams are getting points. It is Jimmy Key, Brian Hayes. Key, Brian Hayes, one of the many young guys I've tried to go all in on in fantasy and flopped, which is why I was last in my league last season.
Does your fantasy league reward for defensive runs saved? Because
they don't. So, that's why I'm picking first next year. All right. After the first quarter, we got two perfect scores. It is 100 to 100.
We wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
And that brings us to the second quarter, which will be 5-on-3.
5-on-3. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized lists containing 5 items, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
Question 1 in 5-on-3. Please name the 5 Canadian-born players with 200 or more career home runs.
We'll check in.
Okay. Mulder, I hardly know her, has checked in. Joe Buck yourself. Talk it out.
So I know for a fact Joey Votto's on the list. He's one of our podcast's favorite guys to talk about. We love his personality. We love everything Joey Votto. And MLB needs to find a way to get him in the game, to keep him in the game somehow. I threw around some other names. I'm not completely confident. I said Freeman. I said Jason Bay. I think Jason Bay is Canadian. I could be wrong there. And
I think he is too. But
and Larry Walker. For some reason, I was thinking Larry Walker was also Canadian. I'm not too sure. What are your thoughts, Harrison?
yeah, I don't know if Freeman was born in Canada, if his mother's Canadian. I think that's why he plays for Team Canada, because his mother's Canadian. But I don't know that he is. Votto for sure. Bay, I'm pretty sure is Canadian. Larry Walker, I'm not positive on, but I feel like he's Canadian. So what do we want to do? You want to check in for 3 and go Votto, Bay, Walker? Do you want to check in with?
Yeah, let's check in with those 3.
It's all or nothing here.
Let's go all or nothing. Heck, we're guests on here. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll have some leeway.
Yeah.
Let's just go all 4. Freeman, Votto, Jason Bay, Larry Walker. Checked in.
Okay. And Mulder, I hardly know her.
So right before the recording tonight, we were talking about how these things come together, and I was talking about how I write a ton of questions, and that ends up helping me in the game. I literally wrote a 5-on-3 not that long ago that was almost the exact same thing, and so I just had to remember who was on the list, and so it's Jason Bay, Joey Votto, Larry Walker was born. He was born in Western Canada. He was born in British Columbia. Justin Morneau, and the 5th one I'm almost positive is Matt Stairs. So those are our 5.
Okay. One team is getting points. Correct answers from top to bottom with 383 home runs is Larry Walker. Number 2 on the list, 356 home runs is Joey Votto. 265 home runs in 3rd is Matt Stairs. 247 home runs is Justin Morneau. 222 home runs is Jason Bay. Freddie Freeman was indeed born in California, so he does not count for those purposes. So there's our list. Rounding out the top 10 of Canadians, some guy named Jeff Heath, who played in the 30s and 40s.
David Milson.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. He was a Canadian exchange student at David's house. The in 7th is Russell Martin, then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in 8th, Corey Koski in 9th, and Tyler O'Neill in 10th. The active Canadians, along with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., are the Naylor brothers, Josh and Bo, and then Abraham Toro. Oh, as well as twin second baseman, Edward Julian is also Canadian. All right, question number 2 in 5-on-3. Please give me the five of the 6. There are 6 of them. I will accept any 5. 5 of the 6 pitchers with at least 5,000 career innings pitched, who pitched at least part of their career in the DH era.
All right, we'll check in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, is checked in. Joe, buck yourself. Talk it out.
All right. I know 2 guys. I know Nolan and I know Maddox, both through 5K. I don't think Musina or Pettit would have been, they're probably in the 4s. Clemens is probably in the 4s because he played all those half seasons. And I think was Necro too early?
Or towards the end, yeah.
I think we go 2 for sure. I think we check in with Maddox and Nolan and take some points since we didn't take any last go around.
I know this is a homer pick, but every time I went to Fenway Park during my entire childhood, Tim Wakefield was pitching.
He didn't start until too late though.
Right. Yeah.
I think we check in with the 2, take the 2, which we know for sure, take some points and hope that they don't get more than us.
Yep. All right.
Let's check in with Maddox and Nolan Ryan.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her.
Yeah, so we may have gotten a little bit too bold here because we had about 7 or 8 names we were kicking around, and the guys that I was gravitating towards were the guys from when I started watching, which were the guys in the 70s who just never came out of the game. So we had Nolan Ryan and Greg Maddux. We started there, and then we eventually settled on Gaylord Perry, Phil Necro, and Steve Carlton. So we checked in with 5.
All right. Well, let's go down the list and see what we end up with. Number 1 with 5,404 innings pitched, Phil Necro. Number 2, 5,386, Nolan Ryan. Number 3, 5,350, Gaylord Perry. Number 4, 5,282 and a third, Don Sutton. Number 5, 5,217 and 2/3, Steve Carlton. And number 6 with 5,008 and a third is Greg Maddux. So that means both teams are getting their points. Nicely done. The next, the just misses. Bert Blyleven was 30 innings short. Roger Clemens finished at 49-16. Tom Seaver, Tommy John, Jim Cott, and Fergie Jenkins also had at least 4,500.
I figured Niekro had to be on the list because I remember that guy never came out of the games. There was one season that he finished. And this is just so unheard of. I don't think this will ever happen again. He had both 20 wins and 20 losses in the same season.
Yeah, we had that as crazy.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen again.
Yeah, he was 21-20 that year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. This one's for David, but number 16 on the list with 4,188 is Frank Tanana Daiquiri.
Oh, nice. Well, you already mentioned Burt B. Home Blyleven, which is
right. All right. The final question of 5 on 3. Please name the top 5 ERA leaders in the 2010s with a minimum of 350 innings. I'm giving you some hints on this one. There is exactly one starting pitcher in the top 5, and all 5 players have made at least 4 All-Star games. This is probably the hardest question of the game. I'm just telling you now.
So you're saying we don't have a chance?
All right, we'll check in.
All right, Joe Buck yourself has checked in. Mulder, I hardly know her. Talk it out.
We're feeling pretty lost because we can't even agree on a starter. But we think DeGrom is probably the starter on this list, but it's got to be either Kershaw or DeGrom.
Yeah, I would think DeGrom just because he those Cy Young seasons. He didn't win the Cy Young because of the games he won.
Yeah,
he didn't win many, like 13.
Does he have
but
350 innings combined?
Yeah. Not in the 2020s.
So how many do you want to check in? Because I feel like
probably 1 or 2. Like, I mean, DeGrom, and I threw out a couple. Like, again, the way that he words this, it's got me thinking closers, right?
Yeah,
they've made at least 4 All-Star games, and they're not starters. That's closers, and to get the 350 inning threshold, again, you think a guy that's closing for most of the decade, not most, but
that's right. I mean, it's 35 innings a season, which is about right. A guy has 35 saves. You figure he has 35 innings, so that's about right. So then it comes down to which closers.
Kenley Jansen is a name that came up. He's
been
really
around
dominant.
a while. Yeah.
And he didn't start to, not that he's still doing pretty well.
He's effective,
but tail off in the 2020s.
That's correct. I agree with that. That's a good guess. I could go with that.
And Edwin Diaz jumped in my head, but I don't know if he has the innings for the 2010s because he came up in the latter half of the 2010s.
That's correct. So he would have had to. Right.
The thing is, if he would reach the innings threshold.
That's right. Because if he's a closer and he only pitched half the decade, that's 70 innings. That's a lot harder. It means he's never hurt. I don't know. Let's come up with your favorite closer and let's go with
my favorite closer.
No, I don't mean that literally. Favorite closer is Gary Sheffield, and it doesn't matter if you're pitched.
Going down a rabbit hole there.
So do you want to do like DeGrom and Jansen and call it? I mean,
yeah, I yes, let's do that.
Okay, there you go.
We're gonna check in with Jacob DeGrom and Kenley Jansen.
And Joe Buck yourself, what'd you have?
So we threw a couple names. We threw Scherzer, we threw Verlander, and then Harrison came up with Craig Kimbrell. Jansen came up for us. Aroldis Chapman came up for us. So Brett Phillips kind of came to mind for me. I don't think he had 350 innings as a position player, but
he was effective
though. Elite closer. Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to go for broke here, and we settled on Clayton Kershaw, Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, and Aroldis Chapman.
All right. So one team is getting their points.
Uh-oh.
Let's go through the list. Kenley Jansen is on the list. He is 4th with a 2.35 ERA in the decade. Wow. Number 1 with a 2.08 ERA for the decade is Craig Kimbrell.
Wow.
Number 2 is Aroldis Chapman at 2.23. Number 3 is Clayton Kershaw at 2.31. And number 5, the deepest cut, but the more you think about it, the more you go, yeah, that kind of makes sense. With a 2.36 ERA is Dellin Betances, who
Yeah, that makes sense.
who really only pitched in the 2010s, but did put up a 2.36 ERA in almost 400 innings. Rounding out the top 10, number 6, Koji Uehara.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Love Koji.
Number 7 is Darren O'Day, another great reliever name. Number 8, Jose Fernandez.
Oh,
Number 9 was Jacob deGrom.
okay.
And number 10, Joaquin Benoit.
Oh, wow.
There's your list. And then I wouldn't be a Giants fan if I didn't shout out number 12, Santiago Casilla.
Nice.
My dear Santiago Casilla.
Hey, a giant and an A.
Yes, absolutely.
Even better for you. I threw out Chapman and David goes, I thought he just got shellacked.
Oh, that was the guy. That was the guy I thought was Fernando Rodney.
It seems that way.
That was when we wrote Chapman down.
That's funny. All right. After the second quarter here, our scores. Mulder, I hardly know her, has 200. Joe Buck Yourself just behind with 160. It is now time for halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 25 points.
And halftime for this all baseball halftime, or this whole all baseball episode, we're going to do an all basketball halftime show.
Oh, boy.
Oh no.
Oh, man.
Here we go. Question number 1 in the all basketball halftime show. What brand name adorns the ball that Joe Cooper uses throughout his basketball career? During the 9th inning of Denslow Cup 5, this ball pops and Coop ends up using a ball that says Barca-Lounger instead.
I'll check in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, is checked in. Joe Buck Yourself. Talk it out.
This is all you, Nick.
It has been so long since I've seen this movie. For lack of a better answer, I went with Lazy Boy. Thinking the Barca Lounger is a type of couch, I'm just going Lazy Boy, letting it fly.
And Mulder, I hardly know her. What'd you have?
Yeah, I said the same thing. I said Lazy Boy. I know there's some significance with Lazy Boy, but I could not remember what it was. So I said to Scott, is there any chance it's Lazy Boy? And that's when Scott came back with, I feel like Mason. So, yeah. So we checked in with Lazy Boy also, amazingly.
Well, both teams are getting their points. Correct answer is Lazy Boy.
What a pull.
Indeed, Coop builds the ball himself out of his Lazy Boy recliner at the beginning of the movie.
That's
and
right.
And then the Barca-Lounger ball is given to him by God, what's that kid's name? Anyway. All right, question number 2 in halftime. The Barca-Lounger ball gets to the game in time with the help of what mustachioed cab driver? There is a number 3 emblazoned on the side of the taxi.
We'll check in.
Oh, geez. Are you sure?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
We're good.
Joe Buck Yourself is checked in. Mulder, I hardly know her. Talk it out.
I don't remember this exactly, but number 3, I think, was Dale Earnhardt, and he's definitely mustachioed. So, you feel good about that? My fellow North Carolinian checked in, so it's got to be right. So
I've said it's been almost 5 years that I've been doing this podcast, and 2 things that I've learned that I need to do that I've neglected. 1, watch basketball, and 2 is listen to Weird Al, because that is most of our halftimes tend to revolve around those 2 things. So I will be doing those, and I agree. Dale Earnhardt is a mustache man that's synonymous with the number 3.
All right, you heard it. You heard it himself. I mean, Scott Grimes, the mustachioed man of the podcast, has agreed. So we're going to check in Dale Earnhardt.
All right, and Scott, I can't just keep writing you Space Jam halftime content. Like, I have to mix it up a little bit. Joe Buck Yourself, what did you check in with?
It's funny. Yeah, I sent Nick the same comment. Like, number 3 is Dale Earnhardt. That's all I know.
Well, and it makes sense in the context of the question where something has to get somewhere fast, and Dale Earnhardt's the fast driver, was a fast driver. So it's got to be him.
Both teams getting points. Correct answer is Dale Earnhardt. Yeah, famously pulls up to the stadium, and they use like the drag racer parachutes to stop him as he's pulling up outside of the stadium for a sight gag. It was great. All right, final question of halftime. Maybe my favorite question of halftime. After the Bears win Denslow Cup 5, what broadcaster, the 2018 Ford C. Frick Award winner, utters the line, "You're excited, feel these nipples"? You gotta run through your Ford C. Frick flashcards again.
Yeah, they're all fricked up.
Oh God.
Look, you give a name like Ford Frick, what do you expect to happen? All right, we'll check in.
All right, Mulder, I hardly know her, is checked in. Joe Buck, yourself, talk it up.
So, I mean, the first name that popped into my head was Bob Uecker, just because, like, I mean, with Major League and all of that stuff. But Harrison then said Bob Costas, and I think that's what we're gonna go with. So,
Yeah.
Bob Costas.
You'd expect Euchre to say that. You wouldn't expect Costas to say that.
And Mulder, I hardly know her. What you got?
Yeah, we checked in with Bob Costas also. Bob Euchre's interesting, though. I could totally expect him to say that.
And the correct answer is Bob Costas. Indeed, says it to his broadcast partner, Al Michaels. How they pulled both of them for that movie is incredible. An amazing moment. And Bob Costas is he's here for a gimmick and he's here for a gag.
Yeah.
Like, he's got his seriousness, but also, like, he was doing like 80s WWF work. Like, you know, he can not take himself so seriously. After halftime, which a perfect halftime, despite people going, "I've never seen basketball," or "I haven't seen basketball in a while." We went 3 for 3. So good job. After halftime, Mulder, I hardly know her, has 275. Joe Buck, yourself, 235. We now move to the third quarter, which is David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath. This quarter will consist of 3 pairs of questions, one easier, David, and one harder, Goliath. After hearing both questions, the teams will pick one of the 2 questions to answer, either David or Goliath. Each David question is worth 25 points, and each Goliath question is worth 50 points.
All right, question 1, David. Name the manager for Team Italy in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. He's a 12-time All-Star, won 10 Silver Sluggers, hit 427 career home runs, and is without a doubt the most successful 62nd round pick in MLB history. Question 1, Goliath. Name the bullpen coach for Team Italy in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. He burst onto the scene as a 28-year-old rookie with the 2002 Cardinals, going 7-1 with a 2.82 ERA over his first 13 starts, en route to a 9th place Rookie of the Year finish. Shoulder injuries in 2004 caused him to miss 2 full seasons before a short-lived comeback attempt with the Nationals in 2007. And I will say this, both of these names are Italian as hell.
Nice. All right, let's check in.
Joe Buck, yourself, is checked in. Mulder, I hardly know her. Talk it out.
Oh, this one's killing me.
So, okay, obviously David is Mike Piazza. The Goliath is I remember this guy, but I cannot come up with his name. It's Jason something. It's not Marquis. It's not Isringhausen. It's something Italian, obviously, because that was the hint. I just can't place the name.
Yeah, 2002 car. Like, that's Pujols' second year. Like, I was all in on the Cardinals back then. Man, how do I'm not thinking of this.
I don't think I'm going to come up with it. We may have to go with Mike Piazza because I'm not going to come up with this, but it's gonna hurt me when I hear it because I'm almost positive it's Jason something.
And the Nationals in 2007 doesn't help because they were kind of irrelevant then.
All right, well, let's you want to see what these guys got and just check in with our David?
Yeah, reluctantly. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we'll check in with the mustachioed Mike Piazza for the David.
And Joe Buck, yourself, what'd you check in with?
We're in the same boat as these guys. We're checking in with David being Mike Piazza. We're on the same page. It's Jason something. It's like Simonetti, Simon something or other. But
that's it. It's Simon
Simonetti?
Tachi or Simon Tachi.
Oh, Jason Simon Tachi?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's it. As soon as
I did throw Tony Soprano in there. I could think of as Italian as hell. So
yeah, 2002 seemed too late for Tamagotchis or whatever it is that you just said. So I didn't.
Yeah.
Jason
So
Tamagotchi.
so we stuck to David also.
All right, both teams getting their David points. It is Mike Piazza and the Goliath. We teamed up to figure it out. It is Jason Simontacci.
Yeah.
All right, very nice. Jason Simontacci now working as a pitching coordinator in the Royals organization, and was a minor league coach and manager for a number of years after his playing career.
Promote that man, because that Royal staff was excellent this
Yes,
season.
they were. Go Royals.
All right, question 2, the David. Name the bench coach for Team Netherlands in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. This outfielder won 10 straight gold gloves for the Braves from 1998 to 2007, and his 51 home run, 128 RBI season in 2005 saw him finish second in the MVP voting to Albert Pujols. Question 2, Goliath. Name the manager for Team Netherlands in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. The first ever player from Curacao to play in the MLB, his 5-year stint with the Yankees from 1989 to 93, and subsequent comeback with Montreal and Arizona in 97 and 98 were unremarkable. But he was the hitting coach for the San Francisco Giants for their 3 World Series titles and is the current hitting coach for the Colorado Rockies.
We're going to check in.
All right. Mulder, I hardly know her, has checked in. Joe, buck yourself. You get plenty of time to talk it out.
Well, we know that David, he should be in the Hall of Fame. The reason he's not in the Hall of Fame is an absolute joke, as we will get into on our podcast in the off season. We complain about the Hall of Fame quite a bit. It's definitely Andrew Jones. Goliath, I don't have an idea. Harrison, do you have even anything?
I don't. I thought I did, and then when you ran back the sequence, I'm like, no, that's not who it is. And I'm not confident enough to go with it. So I think we're better off just sticking with Andrew Jones as David.
Yeah.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her. What you got?
Yeah, so I go through numerous bouts, or have gone through numerous bouts of collecting baseball cards, and one of them was around the 89-90 range. And I'm really pretty sure that this is Hensley Bam Bam Mullins. That's our Goliath answer.
Both teams are getting their points. The David is Andrew Jones and the Goliath is Hensley Mullins. Very nice pull, David. Baseball cards always come in handy. Every trivia question can come from either trading cards or video games. I think that's eventually what we've learned on this podcast.
That's true.
All right. The final pair of questions in David versus Goliath. Question 3, David. Name the bench coach for Team Mexico in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Born in Oaxaca, 14 of his 16 MLB seasons were spent with the Rockies, Braves, and Devil Rays, predominantly as a third baseman. He made 2 All-Star games, won 3 Silver Sluggers, and hit 320 career home runs. Question 3, Goliath. Name the manager for Team Mexico in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Born in Tijuana, his MLB career was 8 seasons for the Rangers and Angels, predominantly as a shortstop. He made 0 All-Star games, won 0 Silver Sluggers, and hit 32 career home runs.
Yeah, we'll check in.
Okay. Joe Buck yourself has checked in. Mulder, we hardly know her. Talk it out.
All right. So David's Vinny Castilla.
Right. I actually
who's one of the most underrated players of the last
I agree.
35 years, like for sure.
The Rangers and Angels shortstop to me in that era, well, he doesn't specifically say the era.
What era?
How old he'd probably have to be, right? I'm pretty sure this is Benji Gill.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember hearing this at some point, and I was like, "He's Mexican." I don't think I even knew that. So, but I'm pretty sure this is Benji Gill.
You know, now that you say that too, I feel like I did see his name recently, which would make sense then if he is the manager. I had a baseball card of Benji Gill when I was a kid. I probably had several of his baseball cards. So 32 career home runs seems a little high, but I think we can...
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We'll check in with the Goliath answer of Benji Gill.
Benji Gill's rookie card, you probably should hold on to that. It's probably worth like 32 cents.
Probably.
You know, well, in pesos, that's a lot.
Right. 32 pesos. Exactly. Great.
Hold on, wait. In pesos, that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And Joe Buck yourself, what'd you have?
Yeah, it's Vinny Castilla, definitely for David. I remember like the home run chase in 98 at the beginning of the year. Castillo was with them for a while and then kind of faded off. I mean, faded off, still hit 50 plus home runs that year, I think. But and then we checked in with Benji Gill for Goliath.
All right. Well, both teams are getting their points, and we were right on both counts. The David answer was indeed Vinny Castilla, and the Goliath answer was indeed Benji Gill. Nice pull from both teams on that Goliath. All right. After the third quarter, we have the following scores. Mulder, I Hardly Know Her, has the lead with 400 exactly. And Joe Buck Yourself just behind, within striking distance at 335. It's now time for the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
And the fourth quarter for this baseball episode is going to be anything but MLB.
Oh,
Here are your categories for the fourth quarter. The categories are Negro League legends, Little League legends, college baseball legends, and Nippon professional baseball legends. It is now time for the teams to place their wagers.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question number 1 of the fourth quarter category is Negro League legends. This outfielder, elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2000, was one of the Negro National League's early stars, leading the league in home runs 4 times as a member of the Detroit Stars. With the addition of Negro League stats to the MLB canon, he now ranks in the career top 10 for batting average and slugging percentage. Name this legend, who is a fitting choice for this episode, considering we're recording it the week before Thanksgiving.
We'll check in.
Okay. Joe Buck Yourself has checked in. Mulder, we hardly know her. Talk it out.
Well, as much as I'd like to go with Scott's answer of Cranberry Jones, there was a guy named Turkey, and that's got to be who it is.
Okay.
And his last name...
Leg.
Leg.
It's more. That's a punter, isn't it? Yeah, that's more of a punter name.
He has the same name as that. Who was that catcher for the Mets that stole Turkey Stearns? Turkey Stearns. That's his name. 100%. We'll check that in.
For how many points?
100.
And Joe Buck Yourself, what'd you have?
If it wasn't for the Thanksgiving hint, we would have had nothing. So we checked in with the same answer, Turkey Stearns. We also wagered 100.
Both teams are getting points. This is Norman Turkey Stearns. That was the name when all those stats got melded together, where like I was, very ignorant on Turkey Stearns' career before, all that came out this year. And then I had to go back and look and be like, oh yeah, he had a massive career. He's a heck of a hitter. All right. Both teams get their points there. So the scores are 500 to 435. Still close. Question number 2 category is Little League legends. Middletown, New Jersey Little Leaguer Alfred D'Elia went viral for his player intro before the 2018 Little League World Series. Fill in the 2-word blank to his intro. Hi, my name is Alfred D'Elia. At home, they call me Big Al, and I blank.
We'll check in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, has checked in. Joe Buck Yourself, talk it out.
So the first clip that I remember is like Maine really doesn't have a lot of Little League teams that make it. And there was a team that went, and we had a big kid on the South Portland Little League team. And he said, I take Big Daddy hacks. That was the first one that kind of popped into my head. But then Harrison said hit dingers. And yeah, we're checking in with hit dingers.
For how many points?
Whatever we sent you.
75. We did 75 for Little League.
He's not wrong.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her.
Yeah, and I hit dingers. We wagered 100 points.
Both teams are getting their points. His name is Alfred D'Elia. At home, they call him Big Al, and he hits dingers. And he's now a high school baseball player who is not so big anymore. He's like a normal sized kid. But he, in doing research for this question, I did find out he did hit a dinger the other day, and the news interviewed him about it. So he's still cashing in on that viral fame. So good for him. Question number 3 category is college baseball legends. There are 6 players who have won both the Golden Spikes Award, given to the best amateur player in the country, and the MLB Rookie of the Year. I will give you the year they won the Golden Spikes and their college, and you need to name any 3 of these players. The 6 are 1978 from Arizona State, 1999 from Baylor, 2008 from Florida State, 2010 from College of Southern Nevada, 2013 from the University of San Diego, and 2016 from Mercer.
All right, we'll check in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, is checked in. Joe, buck yourself. Talk it out.
78, no clue, wasn't born yet. And I can't really think of it at that right there. I know the Baylor one's gonna kill me. Not
remember.
Really sure. Florida State, Buster Posey. Harrison's a huge Seminoles fan. That one's definitely Buster Posey. College of Southern Nevada in 2010. We're thinking Harper might have gone for 1 year. But I was thinking he went right out of high school, but Harrison said he thinks he went for 1 year. And then what was the last one?
San Diego, I think, was Chris Bryant.
Yeah. So we're going to check in with those 3, Buster Posey, Bryce Harper, and Chris Bryant.
For how many points? Harrison?
Whatever so right
for college, we did 100 on college.
Yes.
All right. And Mulder, I hardly know her.
So 2 of our answers overlapped. We got to Buster Posey. Bryce Harper is definitely the College of Southern Nevada. And I was born in 1978, and I remember this actually. Right, exactly. And I remember this because Arizona State, it was Bob Horner. The Braves took him, and in fact, very rarely, because he finished his career, won the Golden Spikes in June, they pulled him straight from college to the majors, and he won Rookie of the Year in the same year. I'm pretty sure it was the same year. So anyway, wow. Yeah, so 78 was Bob Horner.
For how many points?
I think 40. 40. See, now, Harrison, how many points did we bet?
It was 40.
Okay.
It was for 40.
0. They bet 0.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. All right. Both teams are getting their points. All of those answers are correct. 78 was Bob Horner. 2008 was Florida State. As the benchwarmers know, I will never pass up an opportunity to write a Buster Posey question.
That's right.
2010 was Bryce Harper from College of Southern Nevada. And 2013 was Chris Bryant from the University of San Diego. The 2 that were not mentioned, 1999 from Baylor. That was Colorado Rockies legend Jason Jennings.
Never.
And
okay. Yep.
2016 from Mercer, that was Seattle Mariners legend Kyle Lewis.
Oh, forget it.
That makes sense.
That does make sense, but never would have landed that one.
Yeah, those you got. I thought you got the 4 that were kind of the most accessible. Jason Jennings and Kyle Lewis would have been some deep pulls here.
Yep.
All right. With 1 question to go, we have the following scores. Mulder, I hardly know her, has 640. Joe Buck yourself has 610.
Ooh.
So there is still some drama here. Here we go. In the category of Nippon professional baseball legends, name the only person to win an NPB MVP as a player and then manage an MLB team to a World Series title. Do you want some more information, or is that enough?
Do you have more?
I'm just kidding. I'll give you more. As an outfielder, he was only the 2nd American to win the Pacific League MVP, doing so in 1979 with the Kintetsu Buffaloes. As an MLB manager, his Japanese language skills came in handy, as both So Taguchi and Tadahito Iguchi played for him the year his team won the World Series. He finished his career with exactly 1,000 wins and was replaced at his final managerial job mid-season by Ryan Sandberg.
We're going to check in.
Mulder, I hardly know her, is checked in. So for the final time tonight, Joe Buck yourself, talk it out.
This one's tough. When you mentioned replaced mid-season, and Sandberg. I remember Sandberg being the bench coach for the Phillies for a while. And if they won a World Series, the only World Series winner in Philly was Charlie Manuel. So I feel like that's the only guess I've got, Nick.
Yeah, and for some reason, Cito Gaston popped into my head for whatever reason. I don't really know why it did, but the timing sounds right for Cito Gaston, possibly. Let's go with yours. I'm more comfortable with yours because mine's literally just a hunch.
Yeah, because Sandberg never managed in Toronto. So there's,
No.
I feel like it. All right, we're going to check in Charlie Manuel. It's the only name we've got.
For how many points?
I think we only did 50 on this one because we were not confident on Japan.
And Mulder, I hardly know her. What'd you have?
Yeah, this was quite an adventure for us because we were trying to break this one down. When I first saw the timeline and the MVP thing, I was going to all these American players that I remembered were in Japan around that era, or it's like Warren Cromartie and people like that. But then when we got to like Ryan Sandberg replaced him as manager. Ryan Sandberg, I think, has only ever managed the Phillies, and he took over for Charlie Manuel, who would manage the Phillies in the World Series in 08. So it's got to be Charlie Manuel, but I don't remember the Japanese connection with him at all. So we checked in with Charlie Manuel for 40 points.
Both teams are getting their points. Correct answer is Charlie Manuel. Yeah, Charlie Manuel is kind of known as one of the best American players to play in Japan. Finished his career with a 303 career average, 189 home runs, 491 RBIs. Won that 79 MVP with the Buffaloes with a 37 homer, 94 RBI, 324 season. So he kind of raked when we got to Japan after a, not so great major league career. And then, came back, started coaching. He got beamed in the head, which kind of ended his career because it messed up his vision. And so that kind of transitioned him into coaching. He eventually took over, coached the Indians for a few years, and then took the Phillies to the 08 title. So nicely done, both teams. Well, the game has come to an end. Here are our final scores. Joe Buck yourself finishes with a very respectable 660 points, but the winners of the game, tonight's clipboard captains, receiving the very coveted, I needed a baseball and clipboard connection, so receiving the very coveted Drew Henson Award, will be Mulder, I hardly know her, with 680. Nick and Harrison, really nicely played. Really good job. Besides the podcast, which everybody go listen to Rounding Third. Anything else you want to plug or say before we get out of here?
Could I throw a bonus trivia question at you three?
Absolutely.
Please.
Oh,
Heck
yeah.
All right.
Why not?
So these two players were college roommates. They both won Rookie of the Year in their respective sports. One's first name is the other's last name.
Go ahead, David.
I think David knows this already.
I think this might be Fred Lynn and Lynn Swan.
Yeah. Yep.
Very nice.
Fred
USC.
Lynn Swan.
Fred Lynn Swan.
Fred Lynn Swan. Yep.
Fred Lynn Swan. Yeah.
Scott, you got it. You answered in the proper format.
Yes, I got it.
That's
My first thought when you said that, just because I had said the clipboard captain, was like JD Drew Henson. Did JD Drew go to Michigan?
No, he's a Florida State guy.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
Florida State guy.
Yeah.
But no, we really appreciate letting you guys. This podcast has been amazing to listen to, and you guys are incredible. Your sports knowledge blows me away. Like every episode, it's just like it's crazy. So thanks for having us on. It's meant a lot to us to allow you guys to have us on. So
Yeah, we appreciate you guys not blowing us out here and keeping it respectable. But love the podcast. Would love to have you guys on our podcast sometime soon. We can talk some baseball. But really appreciate the chance. Love what you guys are doing.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Scott, David, anything for the good of the order?
I was just going to say, like, that's all you guys. We did not do, like, the fact that the game was close is because you guys know your stuff. Like, we did not take it easy by any means. Like, you guys clearly know your stuff. You're very reputable. Some people have podcasts and they talk about things and it's not always as reputable. You guys clearly know your stuff. Right. So everybody listen to Rounding Third, because as you've heard, these guys know their stuff. They know what they're talking about. So please go support them in the way that you support us, because they deserve it.
thank you.
This was a ton of fun. We'd love to have you guys back and sort of mix it up and sort of mix up the teams and stuff too. We'd love to,
for sure.
We'd love to get you guys on. We can push you into. We'll make Eid host and ask you a bunch of hockey questions so you can feel tortured like we always do.
Oh dear God! It's hockey. It's study your hockey and study your Weird Al if you're playing.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I would love to. Would love to mix it up.
Yeah, this was great. You guys were great to have. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right. For Nick and Harrison and Scott and David, I've been Taco. This has been the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, we will keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch. Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at BenchwarmersTP.